So I'm not sure exactly how familiar everyone is with the internet computer, but I think it's probably one of the most kind of technically complicated and advanced blockchains in this space. So I think as like non-tech people, specifically me, I never claimed to be a tech person. I think kind of words are my thing, not numbers. So it's trying to understand the technology, trying to distill the technology from the founder who is very, very technical, possibly a genius, and then break that down basically and kind of translate it into words that I always try to do like as if my mom or dad would understand. That's basically like the limit I set for myself. And then try to find in that the hook or the story that I can also talk to journalists about. So I think one of the challenges is, it's just breaking down the tech and trying to just, in the most simple possible way, explain it so anyone can understand it.
I think like the major challenge in the PR space that I've faced is like I've also worked with a lot of early stage projects as well as established projects. The problem with early stage projects is that they do have like a lot of unrealistic expectations with PR. So I think I've had founders saying me that they want to get like on Cointelegraph, Coindesk on day one. So they don't really understand how a comprehensive PR strategy works, how, it's so dependent on what kind of story you're trying to create through your brand. It's also dependent on what sort of media relationships you're building. So I think that's one of the spaces that I've been like having a lot of challenge to navigate with these founders. But apart from that, I think with bigger projects, it's mostly about crisis comms. I think handling a crisis situation has been pretty challenging, and we've seen in the past that there's so much confusion, misinformation that's kind of spread. You also have to control the sentiment of the stakeholders, of your users, the audience that's consuming your content. So I think that's also been one of the tough spaces to crack, and I think that we need to do more better in terms of how we handle crisis in the future.
I wasn't sure how to put forward, because what is a blockchain? And what is sharding, what is mining. So I found it very hard to understand the context, but not just understand it, to actually break it down, because Economic Times readers, they are not crypto readers, right? So you need to actually break it down so that people would want to read it. So I had like for the first 1 month, I was just scheduling calls right, left and center to people so that I can understand what it is, what I'm dealing with. And I met amazing people, and the problem is also finding the reliable people to speak to, because we know what happened with FTX. So you will always have people like that in the ecosystem. So more you speak, more you figure it out. So that has been one of the bigger challenges. But once you actually know, the other challenge is like when I go to a lot of meetups. So the first 1 year, I've been to a lot of meetups in Bangalore. And the other challenge is people really don't know what media actually does. So they would come up and ask me like, so how much do I need to get this published? So I found that every single meetup I go to, I'm like, oh, that is not how media works. So I had to actually explain to people, hey, listen, this is not what we do. I'm a reporter, I'm a journalist. My job is to actually speak to people, understand, to see if this is a story, I'll write, otherwise I'm not gonna write. So I had to actually explain what media does to people. So these have been the biggest challenges I've faced so far.
Medha.
Yeah, I'll second what Swathi said, and Aaron, right? The jargons in this industries are just too many. And words that we use very commonly like blockchain and Web3, we all have an idea of what it means, but for the common readers, it may not mean anything. So just to break it down for the broader audience, I think, is the challenge and also the fun part of the job, where you get to learn a lot, you try to make it relatable, use simpler language. That's one. And because I also cover broader markets, I think one other challenge that I face is the traditional metrics that you use to cover, say, stocks or bonds don't apply to crypto. It's a fairly new market. So there are different set of, some of them do, some don't. The technical indicators are different. So you'll use something that's like on-chain analytics or how much reserve is there on exchanges and what that symbolizes. So it's a whole different animal altogether sometimes. So yeah, there's a lot of learning, and it's been about 3 years, and I'm still learning. I feel like I barely know anything.
And just to add one thing is also because where the crypto media, crypto people are not on the regular channels like WhatsApp, right? I mean, I had to get used to Discord. It was a journey. Learning Discord was a journey, and my Telegram is inundated. And these are the two channels where people are. So I like that part of it, because Discord, I had to get a help of a Gen Z to actually like, can you please help me navigate Discord? So I actually had to learn it from the fellow crypto person in the crypto. So that has been fun. That is for sure. But a lot has also changed, because this time I don't really see a lot of people coming up and asking me. So that a lot has changed in the last 1 year, definitely. So that I'm seeing the change.
And like, I'll just like to add on to that. Like, there is also that balance that we need to figure out, right? You cannot oversimplify something all the time, because then the people are like you need to, like Aaron said, you need to make it so that your grandparents, your younger brothers, they understand it. But you have to treat your readers as if they're intelligent readers as well. You cannot break it down too much. It's like, and you cannot give examples, which is a weird thing in crypto, because you cannot simplify by giving examples, which a lot of the times we used to do in the traditional finance market, but you cannot do that in crypto. And like all of you said, I think there's that distinction that people don't realize. There's a difference between media and paid media, and massive difference, pretty big difference. But yeah, it's something that the general audience does not understand. But yeah, I think as the industry evolves and as we get more from our side, more people from our side in India and in Southeast Asia getting involved in all this, I think sort of that divide will go away. But again, fingers crossed.
I would like to add one thing there, just because you mentioned about the pay thing. I think like even a lot of companies or founders don't understand difference between paid PR and the organic earned media coverage, because sometimes they use services where where the article gets blasted out on all 30 publications and actually no one's reading that. Right? So they do need to understand the importance of like a real story, earned coverage, how you can work closely with the journalists and share the story to the broader audience. I think that's really important.
That's true. Okay, just moving on to the second line of thought that I had. I mean, all of us are very deeply entrenched in the market. And crypto and the blockchain market in general has grown and has also become siloed in a sense. There are a lot of sectors. There's Web3, there's GameFi, there's TradFi, there's DeFi. What do you think, in your opinion, all of your opinion, which is the sector that has sort of surprised you and you think is on the rise? And this is specifically very true for hopefully the next bull market. So, like in the last bull market, DeFi was a big thing, right? And do you guys think, is there anything that you're seeing, any trends that you're seeing that you want people to know about? Swathi, do you want to start?
Okay, so last year, yes, there was a lot of DeFi, but surprisingly, in the last 1 year, I'm seeing a lot of layer 2s and the blockchains coming up. I mean, it's insane. Every single person I know is starting up a new layer 2 or a new blockchain, and everyone is talking about ZK rollups. I really don't know how many people actually know about ZK rollups in the first place, but everyone has been talking about it for sure. And I think that, I don't know how much of a game, I mean, I know it's going to be a game changer. The tech is interesting. ZK rollup as a technology is very interesting, but I think it has not picked up yet. I think Polygon is yet to launch its mainnet. And there are a couple of interesting blockchains, that are working on the ZK rollups. I think we will see how they pick up, but that is an interesting conversation. And gaming, suddenly I was just talking to someone yesterday, and they were talking about, they are pretty big guys in the ecosystem, and they were telling me about how gaming in Web3 is one of the ways they are looking at entering the market. So, gaming was there last year, but it's play to earn. We know how that went down the drain, but I don't know how that is going to evolve, the game fee. And the identity is one thing, something else that a lot of people are talking about the polygon ID is something, and I think we will probably see a lot of interesting stuff there. But yeah, but layer 2s, and these are the insane amount of layer 2s in the market now.
Shilikha, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I second Swathi on that there are a lot of L1s and L2s, but I think the trend of adoption or the trend in the next cycle is mostly going to be about RWA. So I think that space hasn't really been given a lot of attention, but real world asset tokenization, adoption of real world asset, I think that's going to be huge, and that's personally my favorite. But apart from that, just seeing a lot of interest from SocialFi, decentralized social media platforms, consumer crypto. I think we're building so much infra tech, right? But then if we don't really have users using that infra, what's like going to be the point of building all of this tech? So I'm also seeing like a lot of conversations around like consumer crypto, how we can just bring like users on chain. So I think all of that has been pretty interesting, and we would see more of that in the next cycle.
Aaron, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, so part of my role, I guess, is to help the projects in the internet-computer ecosystem. So like, if I just look at that and see what projects are coming to us, and there's more and more in this type of project, I think number one would be AI. I know it's such a hype, like this year, everyone was kind of sticking AI onto the end of their projects, but I really think 2024, decentralized AI or AI on blockchain will be a massive thing. I think people kind of want to see transparency in AI, and they want to know how the AI is being fed information and where it's coming from. So I think, yeah, decentralized AI, it might not be the finished product in 2024, but I think that'll be a big focus as well. Ordinals as well. I think it's probably one of the biggest stories this year. I know there's like a big debate going on right now in Bitcoin if ordinals is a bug or if it's a feature, and like I just think going into like 2024 again and Bitcoin halving coming up, I think Bitcoin and the price going up and up, I think ordinals will be massive in 2024 as well, and I think it's probably one of the biggest innovations this year, so I think that will continue as a trend.
Medha.
Yeah, I think you guys covered most of it. But based on my conversations with people involved in the space, it looks like last bull market, there was a lot of speculation that's come out, right? So the start of the new bull market that many people are expecting, projects with meaningful use cases to take the lead, whether it's tokenization of real-world assets or based on identity. So there are different kinds, but I think the focus is there. Even VC funding has slowed down, and people are taking more time to do their due diligence, which sometimes wasn't done so well, like we saw in previously when fundings were, valuations were just wild. So I think that's one. And DeFi, decentralization is another focus. I think ties in with the transparency bit. We're seeing people move towards self-custody and towards decentralized exchanges. Their market share has increased in a meaningful way after what happened with FTX. So that's another trend that looks like it's here to stay.
And yeah, specifically, like when you were talking about SoFi, I hope it grows, but I hope it's not like WorldCoin. I don't want to give my retina scan anywhere, to be very honest. Okay, coming up to the next topic. Crypto and mostly all financial markets in general are generally very US focused, but I think crypto has sort of traversed the boundaries of geography, and it has sort of impacted areas where we did not expect crypto would get into. And I think for the next cycle, whatever we want to call it, at least in my opinion, I think Southeast Asia and South Asia and Asia in general is going to play a massive role. What are your thoughts on it? Like in general, like what do you think? Do you see any changes from when you guys were looking at crypto in say 2021 or 2020? Do you see any change? Do you see the Southeast Asian public getting more involved in crypto? Not just on the development side. As we know, we have a very strong fundamental developer cycle, but apart from that, do you see Southeast Asia taking a bigger role in the next market? Shilikha, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think the market is getting bigger and better in terms of not just like on the development side, but also on the user standpoint. If you're taking these Southeast Asian markets, for example, Korea, Vietnam, China, all of these markets are pretty active in terms of like gamify, in terms of, you know, kind of just using DeFi products. So I think like there's like a lot that's happening. For example, in Singapore, I was on a panel for the stablecoin adoption in Asia, and on that panel, we learned that there's so much that's kind of happening in the RWA space, just adoption of stablecoin. And I think like the market is maturing more. So previously it was more speculative, but right now it's more like maturing. People are just being more mindful of where they're spending their time. And also if you did see the on-chain summer, the whole vibe that was on Twitter through the launch of Base, I think that was also like very interesting, and I saw a lot of traction from a lot of influencers. For example, like I work with a lot of regional influencers in the regional market, and they were pretty excited, right, on all of these new aspects that are kind of coming down, and they're trying to like get involved into the space more better. And with regional influencers, I think one of the things is that they also attract like a lot of regional users. So if they hop on to something that's interesting in the crypto space, they pull in their user base. And most of these are like local influencers who talk in local languages, because these markets are predominantly very inclined to their local culture. So I definitely see a lot of interesting things happening in the gamify, social fi, as well as in general in the DeFi space.
Medha, what are your thoughts on Southeast Asia's role in the next market, bull market?
I think it's going to play a big role. One, because the population is quite young, and crypto in general tends to attract younger, tech-savvy audience, right? India is, of course, in a big way, we're the biggest, youngest population in the world. We also have emerging economies like Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, seeing, I think it ranks among the top 10 highest adoption countries with highest adoptions by chain analysis. So there's that. So I think we're going to see a lot more. We also, Singapore is a city with second highest jobs, crypto jobs in the world. So yeah, there's a lot of money to deploy in this area. There's also a lot of developers that are doing interesting projects. So we'll see how it pans out, but I don't think you can ignore this market.
That's true. Aaron.
Yeah, I think the guys pretty much covered Southeast Asia, but just another place that we've been looking at, and it's not come a big surprise to anybody, is Hong Kong. So just like the recent kind of regulation, the attitude to the government, I just think Hong Kong in 2024, bull run will be like a hot place to go for crypto. The money over there, they have the capital, they also have like this developer pool from China that can like skilled developers, and that pool is deep, like there's so many there. And you can also like scale in Hong Kong that you can't do in places like in Europe. Like Europe's nice and all, and Mika is good and all that kind of stuff, but you can't scale like you can in Asia. It's just no competition. Like, so I think if you want to grow and the bull market comes in, you have to look to Asia really. And the US, I think we can all agree, is kind of done right now.
Yeah. Swathi, what are your thoughts on this?
I think I'll stick to Southeast Asia, which covers Vietnam, Thailand and Indonesia, the other regions. So the interesting thing about the Southeast Asian region is that a majority of the people are not banked. In India and China, I think 80% of the population, significant share of the population is banked. They have bank accounts. That is not the case in Vietnam and other regions. So I think that makes a lot of difference, because the central institutions, they don't have the same kind of the protective thing like the India and the China does. So but that doesn't mean that they are open to payments. I think Thailand and Indonesia definitely has banned payments, crypto payments, but they do have as an asset class I think they still have that option, and I think Philippines is more pro-crypto, and even Vietnam, though again as an investment class. So that makes an interesting proposition, right? I do know that in 2021 and 2022, a lot of Indian companies did expand to Southeast Asian regions. I mean, some of them are not there anymore, but Indonesia and Vietnam, there were two countries that we were looking at, and even Philippines to some extent. So that way, Southeast Asia is promising because it's not illegal and the population is unbanked. And I would also say one more region, I mean, we are talking about Southeast Asia, I think Africa is another country where, because the inflation is massive, and I can't find a better use case for crypto than Africa, right? I know someone who's traveled across these regions, and they actually have seen strong use cases for, I mean, he traveled using Bitcoin. I think Africa is, I mean, I know the politics is crazy in there, but Africa is another region where there is I think it's a low-hanging fruit in Africa.
That's true. I have nothing to add because you guys have, detailed it so excellently.
I would like to add one more thing. Generally, if you see a lot of L1s and L2s, all of them have their regional communities and local languages, right? Like OKX previously announced a huge initiative to expand into India. Say, Aptos, all of them have like huge initiatives in the regional markets. Like they have Korean communities, Chinese communities. So I think that in itself is a strong sign that they are very excited and very interested in the Southeast Asian market.
And last but not the least, because of course we're at India Blockchain Week and you see this massive crowd and massive show of strength that we have here, what are your specific thoughts on India? I know, because of the taxation, at least the financial investment side of it is a little weak in India, but we have a very strong developer base. We have a lot of enthusiasm when it comes to crypto, and we've clearly seen, like we just saw an announcement of the real world adoption of crypto. So what are your specific thoughts on India, and what role is India going to play in the broader crypto market? Medha, do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, I think India has a lot of potential. Like you said, it has a strong developer base. So from that angle, we're already seeing some of the projects that are spoken at the global level, right? That's put Bangalore, in fact, on the global crypto world map. So there is some interesting stuff happening here, but then again, regulation is not, I would say, pro-crypto fully. There's some things that need to be navigated. So I think there is a lot of potential where we're yet to see India come out in a big way. From the consumer side, I think there is a lot. India's a place you cannot ignore because we have such a huge population that uses smartphones and are so tech savvy, are English speaking, many of us are. And so from a consumer standpoint, of course, the crypto companies cannot ignore India. But from the developer side also, I think we'll see some interesting things happening here.
Swathi, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so every person I have spoken to in the last, yesterday and probably today as well, have spoken about how India is a market they can't ignore, primarily because we have, you have a strong developer community here, and also the population, for the user base, 1.3 billion population, and many of them are between the age group of 18 and 25. We have the youngest, at least the second youngest population in the country. But the issue is also that apart from taxation, because there has been enough said about taxation, apart from taxation, we are not a matured market yet, right? We don't have a lot of, I know a lot of founders working on great projects, but we don't have the scale of great projects yet coming out from India. There are only very few projects have gone on a global scale that can be called truly global, because when you talk about Web3, people talk about how Web3 is global and not India. But compared to the quality of what we see in the West, we don't have many quality projects yet. I think that probably will change in the coming years. I think that is something that we need to focus on. I think there was free money available in 2021, 2022, and a lot of projects got funded, and I'm pretty sure some of them have been shut down. But I think from on, the investors are cautious, and I think the ecosystem builders like Aptos and Avalanche, I'm pretty sure even though if they have a grant fund, they'll be cautious about who they are giving it to. The focus will be on quality, and we will have to see if we are getting another project of global scale that to come out of India. I think the next couple of years will be critical.
Shilikha, what are your thoughts?
I think India is growing, the development in the ecosystem is growing, projects also are growing, but I think the tough challenge here is about regulations, and I think the government is also trying to do a decent job to figure out and work around the ways with regulations. But apart from that, I think as far as I've spoken to the representatives, they're more interested on the blockchain aspect of it, the use cases that they can like kind of employ for their own purposes. But then I think crypto fairly will take a little more longer to get like regulated, to get into place. But in general, the enthusiasm is huge. And like I said, projects want to expand into Indian market. We are one of the most populated countries in the world. And I think a lot of projects will be coming to India in the future too, just to drive more users on chain and do like a lot of interesting stuff in this space. So pretty excited about that.
Aaron, I know you're excited about India because if many of you don't know, this is Aaron's first time in India, and I'm sure he's going to come back soon. But what are your thoughts? Did you enjoy the atmosphere? What do you think?
Yeah, so I was just about to say that, like, I think the presence of DFINITY here shows that, like, obviously India can't be ignored, and we don't want to ignore India. That's why we're over here. That's why we're meeting people. That's why we're chatting to the ministers and developers over here. The enthusiasm of like the developers I've met as well, like people are obsessed with Web3 that I've met over here during this week and talking about crypto and like the projects they're doing and what they're developing on. Like it's like kind of energizing really to see and to kind of chat to these people. So I think the developer pool over here is like so skilled and so deep, and then coupled with like a government that is interested in blockchain, I think even just having these two factors, like so some countries have one, some countries have another, but you guys, like India has these two factors, so I think you'd be silly to ignore India. I don't think you'll be able to ignore India in 2024, and yeah, I'll definitely be back.
We'll take you on that word. All right. With that, we'll close this panel. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something from us who sit on the sidelines of crypto and look at it from a normal person's perspective. And hopefully we'll have a lot of these chats in the future. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Medha. Thank you, Swathi, Shilikha, and Aaron for being a part of this panel.